Hi all, I'm going to talk you through using IC for your mapping and its potential gridding use for your IP wells. Within IP here, under Advanced Interpretation, right at the top you've got IC correlation and mapping. What that does is picks up an IC license and gives you this synchronization configuration dialog. You can choose which wells, so I've got a dozen on here. They're displaying my PWI as I have an IP 2018, as well as my well name. I get to choose which curve sets I want to share and which parameter sets I want to share. Once you hit OK, the synchronization runs and your IC database opens up. You can see the project browser. I'm displaying my well names and my PWIs as you do in IP. From within IC we have access to mapping. So if we open up a map, you can see I have all 12 of my wells loaded. So when you're working with all your wells, you can add what we call layers onto this map. This becomes GIS shapefiles which can be stored. So for example, I've got a country outline, you can see my coastline here. You can add in things like your seismic interpretation grids can be brought in from external sources. You can also generate your own surfaces in here. So for example, I've generated my top EV. So one of the parameter sets that I brought in for all of my wells, you can see these IPP sets coming in. This is all sourced from IP, and I can use my picks here and EV depth, and that's what it's been picked up to plot here. And then you have general furniture for your map, whether you want there to be results plotted in a key. For example, there's my top so shallow is the red and deep's my bluey purples. You can also have things, again from your seismic interpretation, fault polygons can be brought into this map. You can also generate your own. So from up in the tools, your map toolbar up here, you can draw a polygon and say, actually, you know what, there's a fault running through here that's going to explain some of this. Give it a name, and there you have your fault. So what this can do for your surface is actually modify how it's drawn. Surfaces themselves, we have multiple gridding methods involved. So you get to choose which of these you want to use depending on the data coming in, your cell sizes and the colour schemes that you want to be it contours or gradient fills or both. When it comes to polygons, they have options in here in order to, for example, break the grid. So the values either side, the gridding will understand this gap and change the values appropriately. You don't have to use these, it's just an option. So that's surfaces. So when it comes to the grids itself, you can build anything that you like with regard to structural surfaces, thicknesses, looking for components, which you can also plot as pies on the chart, look at a zone and give me the fascies interpretation or my lithology breakdown. You can also look to your IP curves, so anything that you've calculated or the raw data, you find a zone that you're interested in. IP tops, pick the zone that you're interested in, and then the curve that you want to look at, so your porosities, your SWs for example, and then what do you want IC to do. Simple calculations available within that zone, average values, minimums, maximums, a sum or a p-value that you have complete control over. You can type in any value you like in there to generate that. So let's just go for an average value here. The grid itself, there's different methods as mentioned earlier. Anything that can be manually controlled, you can control. The display itself, choose your gradient colours if that's what you're interested in, or set the contour levels. Give it a name, and if we hit apply, we'll see that grid populated with the values based on our well control. We can go back in and access the properties of that at any time, modify anything in here that you like, increase that contour spacing, decrease it, add in a fault if you've got it. Any kind of control that you have or need to have on these grids is available. You can plot the values against the data. So that's some of the very, very basic gridding and mapping tools that are available in IC for all of your IP data.